There, how's everyone doing? I'm seeing lots of thumbs up. That's good. I apologize, I'm about a minute late, so we'll just go ahead and jump in and get started. First, I just want to apologize in advance if I'm a little bit all over the board today. The last few weeks have been very crazy and intense with the legislative session, so I'm not as organized as I would like to be, but I'm sure many of you who are also involved in the legislative session completely understand. And real quick, I see Matt Peters. I just want to give a shout out to DTS and the UGRC team. It was Maps on the Hill Day yesterday. It was yesterday, right, Matt? Yesterday or Tuesday, one of those. I think it was yesterday. Anyway, the team there was up there showing people what UGRC does and the importance of that role. So well done to you and your team. And I have my UGR sticker now, UGRC sticker on my water bottle. All right, so a few of the things we're going to talk about today. First of all, I want to spend some time in each of these town halls introducing some of our division directors and giving them an opportunity to share what their division does. As I've had the opportunity to go and meet with employees, I sometimes hear from people who say, I understand what my division does or my team does, but I have no idea what the rest of government operations does. And we did some videos a while back, and those are on the internet if you haven't seen them. But I thought it would be fun to have in these meetings, have a couple of our division directors each month just briefly chat about what they do and what their division does for the state of Utah and for government operations. And in this particular meeting, we had one that could be here in the beginning and one that can be here at the end. So we're going to start and end with those introductions. So I've asked Brian Nelson, who is the director of the Division of Risk Management, to introduce his team, and he's on the call, so I'll turn it over to him to do that now.
Thanks so much, Jenny. It's good to be here with you. Good to see a lot of very familiar faces and some that I don't know yet. It's always such a pleasure to work with all of you. I'm grateful to be on this call and happy to answer any questions you may have. The Division of Risk Management was actually created to help provide some issues with respect to insurance and challenges buying insurance for state entities. It started just dealing with executive, legislative, and judicial branches of government. It has since expanded to include all of the school districts who don't have to participate but opt in, and also charter schools who opt in. All institutions of higher education in the state are among the participating covered entities that we work with, in addition, of course, to state agencies, as I've mentioned. So it was a creation of statute to really help address the types of claims that are brought, suits that are brought for damages or harm that is experienced by individuals in the public. Anything and everything from first party losses like the earthquake we had in 2020, water intrusion losses, flooding that occurs in our entities, buildings, facilities, the fender benders, auto accidents that occur, even to more extreme situations in the liability arena where we may harm someone else or where someone else is even loses his or her life because of the negligence or alleged negligence of some of our state employees or school district employees. And you've seen perhaps some things to help give you an example of where this might play. I think many of you are aware of what happened with the Lauren McCluskey loss at the University of Utah. That was a covered claim, and the Division of Risk Management not only manages a taxpayer fund to help entities and serve as a backstop so that when losses occur, it's not coming out of their budgets per se, but it's being handled by risk so that they can go about doing their business and meet their objectives and goals while we help them stay on track and absorb some of those big losses or even the smaller losses that occur in the course and scope of business. But the 2020 earthquake is another example that we all experienced to some extent. It was a 5.7 magnitude on March 18th, 2020. And And there were $70 million of losses to a significant number of structures of covered entities that we insure from some of our universities, mostly Granite School District, but the Rio Grande, I think, as many of you know, was impacted by this. And so we also, in addition to managing this fund of taxpayer dollars, we also go out and purchase insurance. And the term we use in the insurance world is stop loss insurance, meaning that we have to absorb so much of the losses, and then at a certain stopping point or attachment point, then our insurance will step in and help pay for those big losses, so that we're actually protecting the funds, the taxpayer funds, by buying insurance, so that we're not gonna likely go bankrupt should we have a big loss. And so we have these programs in place that really step up and help and deal with these issues. Now, obviously, these things can be very traumatic, from issues where we have students who may we've had van rollovers where students have been killed. We've had little tiny fender benders that are frustrating to everyone who drives a car. We have employment losses if there's a wrongful termination or a civil rights issue. We cover those as well. And so it's pretty much the whole gamut of potential liability, and also the damages to our products and our structures and facilities and so forth. Now, we have in-house, and on this call is Jim Christensen. Jim, can you just wave or say something so they see you? Jim Christensen is our really brilliant claim manager. He's been with us for a wonderfully short time. That's a little hyperbole there. He's really he's one of our wonderful tenured, experienced adjusters who knows this stuff so well, and manages this section in dealing with all of these claims. We get, Jim, on average about 2,700 to over 3,000 claims per year.
Correct.
And anything, again, from the car accident, the bus accident, all the way to buildings burning down, or an earthquake or a flood, and wrongful termination claims. And as you can imagine, we insure really over 120,000 employees across the state in a variety of capacities, from UDOT to Highway Patrol, dealing with law enforcement, with corrections, with everything you do for GovOps. Anything that happens that could result in a claim, that's where we step in and help address those issues. Now, we have a brilliant claim section that Jim Christensen manages, so we handle all those claims in-house with a wonderful cadre of adjusters. We also have a loss control section, which is a team of consultants in a variety of disciplines that are always out with our covered entities, helping them both identify or be aware of and avoid the losses that can occur. Anywhere from civil rights to employment issues. They're out inspecting the buildings and making recommendations to bring things up to code, or to address premises liability issues, which are typically the kinds of things that you see where you may slip, trip, and fall in a building or in any of our facilities. So they're doing that. We have 2 engineers on staff. We have 2 ergonomists. We have a workers' comp coordinator. We have HR and civil rights consultants as well. Now, when lawsuits occur, and they do occur, they occur. And by the way, as you can imagine, every day is different. I mean, and sometimes you just can't make this stuff up. And it is really quite flavorful and colorful, sometimes very tragic, but it's ultimately a new day in dealing with these issues. And so we're really fortunate to have such good staff that are out there trying to keep us safe and trying to help us look good and do good and avoid reputational harm, economic harm, and other things that we really don't want to experience. And lo and behold, if things do occur and a claim arises, we have Jim and his remarkable team on board taking care of that for us. And so just a few final little tidbits here. We insure over $43 billion worth of assets. That's a really significant count. For most state risk management funds don't insure that much. And because we have the school districts in the mix, which is a rare thing for a state risk fund, it creates some really very interesting issues. And of course, we're having such a fun time with this legislative session as we're dealing with a lot of bills that are dealing with education, dealing with books in the schools, dealing with transgender sports. These are really kind of cutting edge issues and challenging issues, but they're absolutely fascinating. And I just feel grateful that we have a wonderful program with great employees. They all make us look good. They're far better and smarter than I ever will be or ever am. But I'm just really, really, really grateful for them. And we have a great broker. We have great insurance to help provide those safety nets for all of the covered entities and all they do across the state, which is just absolutely so challenging, but also interesting. And I don't think I've put anyone to sleep yet. Maybe Chris Hughes is falling asleep, but I don't know. He's awake. Okay. So Jenny, that's just kind of my little tidbit. I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you, Brian. Just a few things I would add. It's been interesting. As a department, we're tracking around 60 bills, and I sent a spreadsheet out to everybody last week that give you some insight of the things that we're tracking. And so that's one component. But then the other component that Jake Hennessy, who is our finance director for government operations, is quickly realizing is the number of fiscal notes that we send it's just crazy high for government operations. And a lot of that comes from Brian's team, because many of the things that the legislature contemplates or wants to do, there is some kind of a liability or risk management component to it. So Jake is swimming, as well as Brian's team, in fiscal notes to address all of those. So thank you for your team and for all of their efforts.
Yeah, Jenny, if I could just add for your information, when lawsuits do arise, and they do, and we have quite a few, believe it or not, here in the state of Utah, we're still not a terribly litigious state, but we're catching up to the rest of the country. But the Attorney General's Office Litigation Division handles those for us, so they do a marvelous job. So that's the other factor that really contributes to our success, is just great partners that really help us do the right thing. And that's what we try to do every day. Thanks, Jenny.
Thanks, Brian. And maybe I'll get a few nods out of this, but I have told Brian many times that he missed his calling as a sports announcer or a radio show host. He's got the voice for that. All right, moving on, just an update. We did present our budgets to the IGG committee back in January. We actually presented on January 25th and 27th. They were very generous this year in giving us about 3.5 hours of their time to go over the budget request for government operations. So we had budget requests for finance and risk management that Tuesday on the 25th, and then DTS and DHRM on the 27th. Those recordings are open to the public, as well as the materials that we presented. And so if you're interested in hearing what our budget requests were, or the presentations that were made, again, January 25th and 27th, and it was the IGG Appropriations Subcommittee. You're welcome to view or listen to those and reach out with any questions on that. And if it's helpful, we can also get the budget presentations themselves, the slides on the intranet. The next thing I wanted to bring up is just as an FYI, each of you will be receiving a survey. It will be coming from DHRM fairly soon. As we've talked about a few times, we are piloting in GovOps and in the governor's office this year the performance management model. And so there have been some changes this year with the number of interactions you have with supervisors, or if you are a supervisor or manager, with the people that report to you, and utilizing UPM. And so a survey is going to be coming out, just trying to get feedback on how things are going, what your experience has been like, because this is a pilot. And so we need to hear from you and get your feedback so we know what things we need to modify or tweak, or what's working well, what areas we still need to improve. So that should be coming out probably next week. I don't know if John Barron's on the call. He might have more insight there, but watch for that. And again, we just encourage as much feedback as possible so we can take that and continue to modify that plan. Then really the last thing that I have on my list before we get into questions is I was working with our team earlier this year, and I was talking about the difference between 2021 and 2022. And with 2021, a lot of our time and effort was focused on this integration of the 3 former agencies into the Department of Government Operations. And obviously that took quite a bit of time last year. And there are still things that we're working on. That's a big ship to move. And so it's sometimes there's parts of it that we can do more quickly and some that move more slowly. But that was our focus last year, and the focus that I would really love to have this year is this mentality of that we are one department, we are one team moving forward in the same direction as we're looking to serve the agencies of the state of Utah. And we had a senior leadership retreat late last year where I shared a book, and I think I shared this with you all on a town hall from Simon Sinek called Together is Better, and it just gives some leadership guidance and information on building strong and cohesive teams. And so we're taking really that mentality into this we are one theme for 2022. And we have an amazing committee made up of Michelle Brown and Melissa Brown and Kate and Tracy and Justin. And who am I missing, Melissa?
That's everybody.
Okay, so there's 5 individuals from throughout government operations who really took this challenge on, and we wanted to find things that we can do as a department that will help not just bring us together as we're working, but also in some fun ways as well. And so if you go to the intranet today, you're going to see one of the main things on the intranet at the very top is the GovOps Amazing Challenge. And what it is there will be activities that will happen every single month with the intent of bringing us together on a more personal level, on a more fun level. And so each month there will be a series of challenges which all staff, whether you're in office or whether you're remote, can participate in. And we'll share that information in each of the town halls, but you'll also receive some email communication letting you know what the challenge for that month is and how you can participate. So if you go to the website, to the intranet, you'll see the very first challenge, which is for March, and it's actually 2 challenges depending on which direction you want to go, or you can participate in both if you want. But the URL for the intranet is employee.govops.utah.gov. Someone's going to throw it in there. Thank you, Melissa. You can see what the challenge is for March. And so there are 2 that you can choose from, or you can do both. The first one is the sports challenge. Because it's March Madness. And so a few of the things that will be in there, you can send a video or a picture of your most amazing trick shots. You can also send us a picture or a video of your most amazing fancy free throw. Or if you're like me and have absolutely no ability to play a sport, you can show your, if you're a sports fanatic, by sharing your favorite team colors, your team gear, decorate your office, and send a picture or video that way. The other thing that's happening in March is what is referred to as the Geek Challenge. And this is actually something, if I understand, DTS has been doing for many years, and they are very kindly letting us all participate this year. But there is, if you go to the intranet again and click on March, there is a link to the Geek Bracket site. And if I understand correctly, the brackets will open, I think it's next Tuesday, the 22nd. You have to complete your brackets by March 2nd. And then each week, starting March 3rd during lunch, there is my notes are saying that they will roll to determine team winners. So I'm assuming it must be a roll of the dice. Somebody from DTS, let me know if I'm wrong on that one. Thumbs up. Okay, George McEwen, see, you'll help me stay on track here. So, and then the championship round will be March 31st. So Again, this is just something that this particular committee has really spent a lot of time on putting together as a way to help us focus on some of the fun things, especially that we might miss now that we're not in the office altogether all the time with many of our team working remotely. I believe they have things planned out already through August, and they're going to continue to work on that. And like I said, we'll have those challenges coming out every month. So an email will be coming out shortly with some more information there, but the stuff on the internet's already out. So I encourage you to go to the internet and check it out and participate, and let's have some fun with this one. Melissa, am I missing anything there that I was supposed to bring up?
Nope, you got it.
Okay. And thank you, like I said, to those 5 individuals who've been working on this team. I think that they've been brainstorming on this one for several weeks about things that could work in an in-person and a remote working environment. And so this one should be a lot of fun. Okay, those were really the only things I have on my list. Like I said, I didn't have as much this time just because we've been frantically running around trying to work through the legislative session. So I'm going to open it up to questions now, and then toward the end of the meeting, I'll turn some time, probably about 11:45-ish, 11:50-ish, to Corey Weeks, who's the division director for Fleet. He'll be joining us toward the end of the meeting to discuss what the division of Fleet does. But what questions are out there that we can address for you? And while we're waiting for questions, Mary Lee or Chris, anything that I forgot to mention this time around? Oh, we can't hear you, Mary Lee. You came off mute, but it's not working. Okay, so I can't read your sign language either, sorry. A few questions have come through. When does the official budget get approved? The official budget, the EAC, which is the Executive Appropriations Committee, has all of the subcommittee budget prioritizations now. So every agency reports first to an appropriations subcommittee, and you present your request, and then the subcommittee prioritizes it and they send it on to the Executive Appropriations Committee. That committee has all of that information now, and then they take that to build the final budget. I would expect it will probably come out next week, but it's usually toward the end of the session. But I will say nothing is actually final until midnight on the last day of session, which is March 5th. In fact, if Ken Hansen was on the call, he would have a countdown clock for us right now that shows days, minutes, seconds, but I don't have that.
Jenny, I will add that to the chat.
Michelle Brown is doing that on Ken's behalf now that he's retired. But until then, anything can change. Changes can be made on the House or Senate floor at any time. So nothing is for sure until, well, actually nothing is really for sure until the governor signs off on it. But the legislature can make changes up until midnight of the last day of the session. So that's when we'll really know where we're headed over the next fiscal year. The next question is, what is the status of HB 104 State Employee Amendments Bill? So this will be heard by the Senate Government Operations Committee tomorrow. I want to say that committee's meeting at 8, and it's the second item on the agenda. And Representative Christopherson will be presenting his substitute, the third substitute on this bill. So there was the original bill. The first substitute was never heard or voted on by committee. Second substitute added some language so let me give some back up a little bit, just in case I'm getting ahead of myself here. So this is the bill I believe we spoke about in the last town hall that would move the approximately 3,000 state employees who are currently managers or supervisors at a career service status into an at-will status. And then there is a financial incentive that's included in the bill for them to do so. They would be grandfathered into that particular role if they choose to keep their career service status, or they can advance to at-will with that incentive, which is what happened with DTS back in 2006, I think. Anyway, as part of that bill, two concerns that we heard that were addressed in substitutes, the second and third substitutes. The first one was there's concern that if you become at will, then there are no longer protections that are available to an at will employee. And while that's not the case, there are still federal laws and such that exist. One of the things that we did with the second substitute, was add a line that says that agencies can, in working with DHRM, create a policy for their agency for an employee to appeal a demotion or a termination. And that's not the exact terminology, but that's the general gist of it. And that way, that process or that policy might look different for government operations than it does for public safety and different for health and human services. It gives the agency autonomy to structure it in a way that makes sense for them. So that was added in the second substitute, which passed out of the House committee. It's now and the House floor. It's now on the Senate side. The third substitute will be introduced tomorrow. One of the questions that came up was in the bill, it ended longevity. And if someone from HR is on the call, if I butcher this, feel free to chime in and say, Jenny, you butchered this. But really what that did was any employee who had been here for quite some time and was at the top of their pay range, it gave them I can't remember the increase. I think it's like 2.7% or something around there. Longevity increase. Okay, John's telling me correct. A longevity increase because they were at top of range.
Every 3 years, Jenny. 2.75 every 3 years.
Okay, thank you, John. So every 3 years, 2.75 longevity because they're at the top of range. And that this bill repeals longevity. And some of the questions that we received is, well, now you've got situations where you have employees who are at top of range who have been here for a while that won't qualify for an increase any longer, which really defeats the whole purpose of us having and moving toward this performance management plan. So the third substitute that comes out tomorrow addresses that. And again, I don't have the exact language in front of me, but the general gist is that while longevity will go away a year from now, it will be replaced with this performance management model that allows for somebody to exceed their salary range if their performance evaluation justifies an increase. So that way, agencies will no longer be capped at that range if you've got a high performing employee who the supervisor determines qualifies for an increase, they can exceed that range. John, did I butcher that?
No, that is correct. And I dropped the language in the chat.
You. Okay, thank you. So that will be heard, that third substitute will be heard by Senate Government Operations Committee tomorrow. If it passes there, then it will go to the Senate floor. So that's the status of that one right now. Michelle put a link to the time and date countdown. So if you're interested in knowing exactly how much time we have in the session, there you go. Oh, Darren, why is the longevity code section repealed as well? I think I just answered that, but it was to go into this mindset of we're transitioning to this performance management model where those increases should be influenced by your performance and not just necessarily how many years you've been here. So that longevity will be replaced by the performance management model, but allows an employee to exceed the pay range that is set. So they won't any longer be limited in that range. Okay, John put the exact wording in there. Longevity change will become effective July 1 of 2023. So it extends through the next fiscal year because we need the next fiscal year. And when I say we, it's really DHRM's team that's going to be doing all the work, but to put that performance management model into place. So as the performance management model becomes effective July 1, 2023, so does the longevity change as well. Would the performance increase be the only way to get above the max? John, that might be a better question for you.
Katie Clayton, as of right now, yes. The answer is that is the only way to break the max of a range, yes.
Thank you. Any other questions we can answer? And Corey Weeks, are you on the call yet?
I have been on for about 2 seconds.
Oh, good.
I
See,
got
that's good
just in time to hear you say any other questions.
Okay, as we wait for more questions to come in, let's give you about 5 minutes to introduce the Division of Fleet Operations.
Start my camera for this. Thank you, Jenny, for giving me a second to talk about our division. Division of Fleet Operations has 3 ISFs. We've got the transactions team, which most people within the department know, but most other departments don't know about. Transaction team provides accounting transactional services for other divisions within Department of Government Operations. We've got the motor pool, which is our biggest internal service fund for my division, at least. And that organization is charged with buying, selling, and leasing vehicles for all state agencies. And we do work with some of our higher education institutions as well. Then we have the state fuel network. The fuel network has fuel sites spread throughout the state. For those of you that are road warriors a little bit, you'll probably have filled up at those a time or two. Our fuel network is charged with making sure we have fuel available to our state employees, as well as political subdivisions of the state, and also making sure all those fuel locations are maintained. One of the things about our division is that we are every single one of our internal service funds is in a rapidly changing world, and so our goal right now and all of our focus is making sure that we are adapting and leading change instead of being victims of it, and that's happening from electric vehicles to automation of financial services. We are in it to stay ahead and to be part of the solution. I think that is probably about the best way I could put it there.
Thank you, Corey. And I, again, just want to give kudos to Corey's team as well. As you probably are all aware, there has been an incredible shortage of vehicles because of the chip shortage that has resulted from the pandemic. And that has really been a challenge for Corey's team because they're responsible to replenish the fleets for the state of Utah. And so they get large numbers of fleet vehicle orders every year. You think about Utah Highway Patrol and the number of vehicles that they need, or DNR and Ag and these agencies, and it has not been easy to find vehicles the last 2 years. And so Corey's team has had to really expand their network and try to find a car or two here or there wherever they can, instead of utilizing our normal process of just ordering a fleet of vehicles from a manufacturer, who many of which are canceling fleet orders right now. So his team has really had to figure out creative solutions to find vehicles when they are needed at the state level right now.
Thank you.
It's been an interesting challenge. All right, I haven't seen any other questions come through, so I'm going to take that as a good sign that we've addressed everything today. If there are questions that come up later that we didn't get to, as always, please feel free to email me. I'm happy to respond to emails. It might take me a day or two right now just because of the session, but I do respond to every email I receive. So if something comes through that didn't get addressed today, feel free to send an email. Otherwise, we'll plan on seeing you again next month. And again, please go to the intranet and participate in our GovOps Amazing Challenge. Thanks, everyone.